Habitat and those living within. In other words, keep your distance. In Bangor, Caroline report.
Huh? I don't know. She ate the carrot. I don't know if she ate anything else.
Your neighborhood, plus pushing for a level playing field.
Now with that, baby.
Some businesses say they're tired of being undercut by Chinese producers. Plan to keep made-in-made products competitive. And
is management not focused on solving the problems that America has today?
supersonic air travel could make a comeback soon. Some say with a live look at what we're all right, would you all please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Good evening. With that, we will bring the Town of Damariscotta Select Board meeting of August 17th to order. If it's all the same with the rest of the board, we have a few folks here waiting for some motions on liquor license renewals. And we'd like to just maybe get those out of the way. Everybody all right with that? All right. So we can start with liquor license renewal for Schooner Landing.
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license renewal for
Second.
Schooner Landing.
All right, Josh moves that. Lou seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right. You're good. You can go back to work. And we have the license renewal for the Lobster Hall.
Make a motion to approve the liquor
Second.
license renewal Lobster Hall.
Thank you, Josh. Tom seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Go back to work.
We'll sign it and
Yeah.
you get it copies tomorrow.
Yep. So we'll just do that at the end. You'll get it, but you're, you guys are all set. Say, you're more than welcome to hang out.
It's really exciting here.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Good luck. Okay. And we can move along. Everybody has seen the minutes of August 3rd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 3rd.
Thank you, Josh.
Second.
Lou seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, minutes are moved. Okay, so we have a couple of, we'll go through financial reports. We have payroll warrants 8 and 9. You guys want to do those together or?
I'll make a motion to approve 8 and 9.
Second.
Josh moves it. Tom seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's good. And we have an accounts payable number 10.
Make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant number 10.
Second.
Thank you, Josh. All right, Lou seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, we get some business out of the way. We can move along. Andy, we've got some citizen comments and general correspondence today.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily know where the best place for this, just sharing with you the agenda for the meeting that's going to be happening in
Sure.
half an hour.
Yeah.
The Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission and updates from August meeting or for the August meeting. I don't know if that's something you used to have, but just it came in last week and putting the package together, so I thought I'd share it.
Yeah, thank you.
The only comment I have on that is this organization and others will take and go ahead and plan these meetings, but they plan them sometimes when we're having our meeting.
Hmm.
So we either have to skip the board meeting or go to their meeting.
Mhm.
I can't go to their meeting tonight
Right.
because I'm here.
Yeah.
So it might be wise to suggest some of these people watch their dates.
Mhm. Do they have a consistent week of the month or day of the month that they do it like we do?
I,
The Lincoln County.
You've been going before, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
those are probably not.
Yeah, that's important, right?
Lose a liaison there, and it's hard to be in two places at once,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah,
We have two on that, right? That represent
Yep.
us?
yeah. Who's the other one?
Oh, that was, Mark, wasn't it? Wasn't Mark on it?
I don't remember.
I know.
It was Mark, yeah.
Mark,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we had to.
Well, do we need another one to go on? I would be willing.
Well, I don't know if it would be good to have Isabel.
Yep.
Our planner perhaps.
No, that makes sense.
We got
Yeah,
one board
yeah,
member
that
there, and
makes
then if we had a
sense.
staffer
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
if she's interested.
She works for us.
All right, we all set on that. We can move on a little bit to, it's like you've got some, donation, huh? For from the police department?
Yes, along with the thank you letter there.
Yeah,
It's always good to share the good positive comments, so.
absolutely.
Sure, that's good.
Yeah. Everybody get a chance to look at that. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. And do we have any, I don't see anybody in the audience, anybody online, any correspondence or comments from I think that we just have Ann on there, don't we? Yeah, she's waving. Hi, Ann. All right.
Okay, so for that one, we decided that we should, maybe Isabel would like to,
Yes.
okay.
I'll make a
You
motion.
make a motion? Yeah.
If she accepts to do that, to have Isabel as
Mhm.
our town planner.
Well, she was just introduced and met with them. I mean, I think that's probably something that should be interesting too.
So you've got a motion. Yeah.
Mhm.
Need a second. And we can-
Second.
Yeah, Tom seconds. Yeah, any discussion? See if she, all right, let's.
Double duty, because Booth Bay Harbor is of course part of the county too, so. she
Yeah.
Represent two
That's
locations
right.
there.
All right,
Yeah,
all those in favor? Okay, well, we just made a motion she doesn't know about, so you can,
Hey, why
and you
not?
can move that right along there. Thank you. Oh,
I wouldn't add the comments if she decides to, or if she likes to, whatever.
Is there another-
right. Well, if
It's
if
coming
she doesn't
down.
want to do
Oh,
it.
maybe she
then
already
I
get
will.
appointed to
Yeah,
Booth Bay Harbor.
Yeah, she might be.
so, all right, well, let's get moving along here. And Andy, you've got some updates to go over with us?
Yes.
That,
So for Church Street and the Castner Creek crossing, I'm still waiting to hear from Island Institute about that. So I'll call them this week just to check in and see what that process might be for finding out so we can get the extra analysis going. Hopeful they'll be able to provide at least some funding, if not all of it, that we need for the additional work for data collection. As far as the parking lot project, we still waiting to hear from FEMA about the modified designs. They're still in that 90-day period to get back to us on what we had offered. EDA did give us an update last or 2 weeks ago. And one of the things we're working on right now is reviewing the scope of work and looking to modify the scope of work. And reconsidering the construction of the flood wall as part of this ongoing project. Acknowledging that we're having a hard time getting the permit approval from FEMA and wanting to be able to move forward with the drainage solutions that are causing problems. Probably not today, but will this year, and try to push that as a priority. And so they're trying to find a way to make that work for us. So we look to keep.
The EDA is trying to help us.
Yes. So we'd look to keep the design of the wall in there. So we've incurred costs on that, and we do presumably want to keep looking for a solution that'll work there, but not have it hold up the next phase of the project with the
Right.
storm drain system.
So I guess the only thing on that, Andy, is that if FEMA changes their mind and says that they want the elevation to be higher,
Mhm.
but EDA says go ahead and do what we initially designed,
Mhm.
you know.
If EDA
What
says,
do we do?
if EDA says yes to 8 and FEMA wants 10.2,
Right.
what do we do?
If EDA says we'll pay for the rest of it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's partly why they are doing this, and we shared with them the estimated cost to do the 10-foot elevation. It was upwards of $2 million more.
Right.
With a lot of other work still needed to be done to verify,
Right.
because there's a lot of concern as how that parking lot, what's underneath that parking lot and whether it can
Support that. Yeah,
support the extra
it's a lot of
material there, and specifically concerned for the sewer system and lines that run under there.
But if if this is a necessary thing to happen in the future, why wouldn't we try to solve the problem now, knowing that in the future, are we going to really dig it up again in another 20 years?
I think that's the question, is how far in the future are you trying to solve this,
Right.
create a solution for? So, the engineers are feeling pretty confident about what they were proposing could meet the issues. It just with FEMA, they were looking at it to be, I think there was some expectation perhaps that the project would remove all those properties from the floodplain. And so I think that's where FEMA's kind of, if we're going to get the letter of map, the conditional letter of map revision, the conditional approval. We still have to get the letter of map revision submitted, and they'd have to still approve that. But if we got the conditional approval, that's what it was aiming to do. And so there's still ways to mitigate the flood risk today through the designs of the parking lot project and that storm drain system. And they can continue to look at the wall.
Right, so you go ahead for the drainage and go from there.
So the 10-foot is for the wall.
That's to meet FEMA's
Meet
requirements
FEMA's
to
for
get
the
the,
wall,
to get the
not for the
Flomar.
fixing the drainage in the parking lot.
We can still fix that.
Right, this is kind of a separate, they're
But
proposing
fixing-
an elevation change, which is a huge elevation change.
It's huge.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you separate out the projects, you have the parking lot drainage.
And then you have the
seawall,
wall,
and they
exactly.
are, they work together, but they're
So
they're separate.
if FEMA really feels like this is the best solution, are they willing to come up with the 2 million?
They haven't suggested they have it yet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if this is
It
what they
was-
feel we should do.
Yeah, it's also more than the 2 million. It's the effect on the whole downtown.
Well, this is just the additional, this is an additional 2 million to
Yeah,
bring it up
an
to their
estimated,
code.
rough estimate.
Estimated,
Rough estimate.
right?
Yeah. So the idea going forward is if EDA says, hey, get the parking lot done, here's the money for it. I think we want to move ahead and,
Yeah, you have a narrow window. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just about to start, I think, the 2-year extension period.
yeah,
And a lot of businesses are still waiting for that issue that you're gonna see happen this fall, and I don't know if it happens in the winter, but with the big rain events that happen now, it's gonna have
Yeah.
issues still. So we can still do a lot to mitigate that immediate
it would be a huge.
flood
huge
issues that we have.
amount with what they can move in, and just the storage and what they move in
Mm-hmm.
the parking lot, so. Yeah, so hopefully, so the reality is so we still really don't have a timeline. It's still waiting on,
But there's
But
at
we
least
have a
some
2-year
positive.
extension.
there's some
do have
positivity
a
there. I'm
Right,
trying to
yeah,
be
so-
optimistic.
So the engineers are working on, helping work on that scope, that revision of the scope. It's not a whole lot, but we just want to make sure that we're capturing the right things. There's been a couple of things that have been completed, the bathroom, the charging stations. Again, making sure we conclude the design still. So they're gonna do that, refresh the numbers. Because we're still gonna presumably use the majority of that award as projects now, what costs
And
now
more.
3 years later are more than what they
Yeah.
were when we started that estimate.
Oh my
So
God.
they
Right.
just, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is trying to refresh those numbers from what they had submitted. And then we'll work with Max at MCOG to get that submitted.
And with the cost of everything going up.
Yeah, we'll meet next week, and I expect to have that for next week's meeting.
We'll hold you to it. That was a guarantee.
That's that's my expectation. I'm not the one writing it.
I think we started 3 years ago, I think. So we can't put it on you. There's a lot of wheels there. Our control turning slowly, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So Miles Street's out to bid for that causeway work and replacing that culvert. I know there's been a few questions. They engineers had sent out a kind of like the first round of question and answers that have come in that first week it was out. So we should have those are due back the 26th. And then you'll be able to presumably make a decision on the 7th and select a bidder on the 7th. So that should
Well, that's exciting.
move that forward.
Moving along, that's good.
And then I believe I forwarded you the notice and the document for the Belvedere Egypt Road. That's out and been posted or sent out to the companies.
Yeah.
So that's out there. And I think they were planning on having that back for the same meeting. Those are due back the 31st, I believe. And then that'll give them the end of that week to review and give you the recommendations for your meeting on the 7th.
Awesome.
And we did add the think all the culverts that we had talked about and Josh had raised.
Yeah, so get those in there. Yep.
And they were the big one. I don't know if you noticed it. They were recommending we replace the culvert at Back Meadows in Egypt.
Yeah, I saw that.
Be a
And
big-
then,
Oh, the
Yeah.
one, yeah, did they,
yeah,
yeah.
I was hoping they could line it and just, dress the shoulders a little bit better there, and put a liner in it maybe. But the engineer looked at it and thought probably it should be replaced.
and just do it and be done with it. And
How
then
long- Do we know how long that one's been there? You
been
gonna,
there a while.
I'm trying to, I don't
The
remember.
one across Back Meadow has been replaced. That's a plastic.
The other one, yeah.
And then the other change was Abbey by the brook by Abbey Lane,
Oh.
stabilizing the inlet and outfall.
Oh, okay, on that one there, yeah.
So we,
Yeah, that was
Andy and
pretty-
I went and looked at that the other day.
Yeah, I don't remember them, when the last time that was opened up on that end. Been a while.
Everything's kind of strange.
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah.
And they don't seem concerned. I mean, if this were to happen, we put it in there as part of the project. I mean, if a company wants to do it in the fall, they can do that part in the fall, but the engineers also don't have a concern with it happening in conjunction with the project in the spring. I mean, as long as they're installed right, it won't be a problem.
Right, as long as it meets the compaction rates and all
Yeah,
the
it's a pretty
installation.
major spot, so,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Who's this new guy in the back here?
Yeah. Lead reporters
Lead
come
reporter.
sneaking in and out,
Nope.
yep, so.
Don't tell them about
No,
the
he's
things
changed
we
the,
discussed.
So no-
vehicle,
In Hodgson Street, and it was what are we waiting for on Hodgson Street? What's
Yeah.
Just need to pull together the meeting with the committee that was formed. And then review that document, that final plans, and then once they get those finalized, the engineers can put those out to bid.
Okay.
I'm assuming that all the money that we need is secured. I think it'd be nice in my mind to kind of wait and see what the bids come in at for Egypt and Belvedere, because I know there was kind of a lot of projects kind of being earmarked for the bond that had gone out that we have. When we added those culverts, I imagine that's probably gonna add a fair amount to it.
Yep.
So we've got the CDBG money for the Hodgson Street, so I mean, we signed the contract on that and haven't heard anything further on that, so that's there. And I don't know that that'll be enough to cover all of it, but
Well, we had our money set aside for that, whatever I match, but I still don't think that's probably enough.
Between what CDBG is giving and what we have.
We had put, I think, of course, all the costs have gone up,
Exactly.
so.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look at that, for next fiscal year. If we
Right.
had to.
I think there was still a couple of unresolved parking space things that I just haven't followed up with them yet. But we just got to get the
Still
committee
working through
together.
some Details with the committee, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Slow turning wheels here.
Yes. Well, certainly a lot of other projects that we've been able to focus on.
Yeah, no, I wasn't talking about you.
The tax commitment, we'll talk about that later, but
Yeah.
the information is there to consider the Board of Assessors meeting. We did have but 2 people so far apply for the part-time position in the office. Obviously done 1 interview so far. Hopefully we'll be able to fill that soon, get that additional person. We'll have to move stuff around in the office a little bit to accommodate that, as we had that at one point. There was another desk in there at one point in the front office, so nothing major, but it's something we just got to work through. We might need to take an afternoon to have some help come in and help us do that, so.
Move some stuff around.
Other than that, I just had Public Works, just a quick update on what they've been up to. A lot of, if you haven't been out and about, most of their time in the last 2 weeks has probably largely been spent brush hogging along Egypt Road. And then they've been the last few days on Branch Road, trying to get ready. That was pretty overgrown through there, as
Yeah.
we heard. So,
Sun in there.
yeah. Other than that, I mean, it's been a fair amount of time with you, about a week ago, I think, before I'd met with Josh and on looking at Belvedere in Egypt as well. We went down to Osprey, Oyster Creek, and looked at that one. That looks like an old driveway culvert that was in a ditch line that used to be there that hasn't been there for quite some time. When we look at that project, we'll probably need to reestablish that ditch and put that culvert, replace that one that was there. Other than that, just, kind of still working and getting in a good flow with Hugh and Dale on creating the work plans on a weekly basis. I've been meeting with Hugh weekly to be able to kind of come up with that work plan each week and try and plan ahead a little bit. I know Hugh's been talking a little bit, summer's wrapping up. He was reminding me a lot of what happens in the fall this next season, and was talking about Pumpkin Fest as well. So that was something that I got to learn a little bit more about.
Yes, yeah. Throw you into that. Yeah. All right. That's all you got there?
Yes.
Should we sneak one more in?
It was Cheryl's birthday yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday, Cheryl. Yeah. They did a nice job decorating in there.
It was a milestone.
Office.
It was a milestone birthday.
Yeah.
So we
She wants us announcing this over.
didn't say what year. I just said it was a birthday.
It's too late. No. Oh,
dear.
great. All right. Well, thank you, Andy. Updates there. A lot of stuff going on, some progress being made. So that's exciting. So we can move on to some official. We've already done our liquor licenses, move those along. Bids or tourist bid, right? That's the next one.
Yeah, I think I put those in front of your
Yeah.
chairs. So the chief and I had opened those up yesterday morning. They were due Monday afternoon. We opened them yesterday, or Tuesday rather. So we'd be able to give you this summary before the meeting. We had five bids come in, and 4 of the 5 were above the minimum reserve that we had set. The highest bid was for $3,456.78.
Yeah. Not bad.
Do we legally just take the one that's gives the most?
Typically, yeah. So we had asked for a sealed bid process, and you would usually just award it to the one that's
Whoever, yeah.
And so they would have 7 days to once we call them, have 7 days to provide the payment. And if they don't, we go to the next highest bid.
Well, sounds good. I'll make a motion to accept the bid placed by Asian Auto Services of I can't pronounce that one.
Is it place
Plastow.
Plastow, right? Plastow, New Hampshire for $3,456.78.
Second.
Tom seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Right. Well, Asian Auto Services.
Linda can have more. No problem, Linda.
Right. Okay. We have a quit claim deed, correct?
Yes. So this was a tax foreclosure that town foreclosed on in
19?
Yeah.
2019?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Can I get it from you, Andy? If you want me to
Yeah.
buzz through it? Yeah. Town foreclosed on, this is 18 Branch Road. Town foreclosed on this property on December of 2019. Since then, the staff had worked with the property owner and their advocates to correct the delinquency. As of August 2nd, 2022, the town received $15,000 from the state on behalf of the property owner through a program they were eligible that would credit this account. The balance due as of August 2nd, 2022 is $15,040.91. I am estimating the property owner's share of the transfer tax and deed filings to be an additional $54, with a grand total of $15,094.91. Is that sufficient? Let's see, what else we have here? Yeah. Yeah. You will see that the town's accrued interest for the 5-year period is $2,579.90. And actually, this is you writing this. I'm speaking to Andy now. I would recommend that the board consider the $15,000 payment as payment in full and release the property back to the previous owner of record, with the condition that the owner cover the transfer tax and filing fees. All right. I just read it off. Don't ask me any questions.
I make a motion to approve the recommendation to accept the payment as paid to date, plus the filing fees and tax or whatever.
Second.
Yep. Thank you, Tom. Lou seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, motion carries. Okay. Check. So we can move on to go through some work plan goals.
Can
Next, or do you want to?
we need to cover, well, I don't need to. I need to sit over there. The cancer care program for the
Oh,
fire department.
yeah, there was an update from that. So I sent out the email from Chief Roberts about that. It was something you guys talked about during the budget process. He sent another email or called me last night and had found something different. So my understanding is when you guys looked into that or it was proposed, he's done the research. He looked for a few different companies. You probably know more, a little more detail on the companies that he looked
I
at.
can switch hats if you want me to.
Yeah, you can brief us on it.
I'll go over here.
Yeah.
People get mad at me.
You need to state your name and
I am second assistant fire chief for the Massasoit Indian Company. The budget committee had asked our chief for prices on the cancer care program for our members. And it was approved by the voters at town meeting. We've looked at different areas and John had sent it out over email to all of us, or Andy forwarded it to all the members of the board. We looked into everything. We have some members that are a little bit older than the cutoff date of age. So they don't qualify. So we looked at different opportunities to have an accidental policy if something else should arise, because we wanted those members covered as well for something, because we just didn't feel it was fair. We ran into another roadblock last night and we can't do that policy because there's certain age threshold on that as well. So we've decided we'd like to move on with AFLAC cancer care program for our members. And I think it was, I believe, around $400 a piece. So that would fit in the budgeted amount for what we have in our budget.
Covering those over 75 too?
What's that?
Does it cover the over the 75 too?
No, well, you have to be under 75
At your enrollment.
as your enrollment.
Yeah.
so the members that are
Currently are
outside
over.
that are, you're still trying to look at.
Yeah, so
Options.
we were trying to talk about options last night a little bit with the officers, but we haven't come up. But we had a representative there last night to sign us all up at our meeting. We'd like to move forward so we could get that in operation for us as soon as we
Any
could.
savings with that policy, or that would give us some room to do the other three that are over 75?
They cannot participate in any of
No. Is there any savings in using the AFLAC policy over what was budgeted that could be used for the other three?
Yeah, but we're just trying to figure out what we're gonna do
I
for the
know.
other three.
I know,
So,
but is the money there?
yeah, there's money that we can,
Yeah, that's what I was.
yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're within the same, we're gonna be within our budget, and without, we're gonna be way below what we
Okay,
budgeted.
so there's quite a bit of money. Okay.
I
So
think it was 95.
9,500.
Yeah.
So it's right around $400 an active member. You have to be an active member of the department. So we'd like to move forward with that. We've signed up. I think we had 16 members last night sign up for that. I think we got a few more, but not many more than that. So we should have the available funds to,
Yeah.
we're just, our department feels members are kind of feel bad for the older individuals, because those are the ones that kind of took care of us and still take care of us to this day. And they're very active members.
Been there a long time. Yeah, yeah.
And,
Is there any way we could take and set up a side fund with the premiums that would be paid for them going into that?
we looked into doing like a health savings account a little bit.
Yeah.
We did talk to one of the accountants on the,
Yeah,
and he said that we could not.
could not.
But we were trying to figure out different avenues, how we can do that.
Well, you
but
could start a town fund.
Yeah.
Using
Right.
the excess that you have after you
Yeah.
use the
Right.
Aflac and then add to that every year or whatever.
Yeah.
So we
It
just,
doesn't have to be a house saving.
no, but we were talking about alternatives last night. We just haven't had enough time to
Yeah.
sit down and
Sit down and do.
figure it out, but we'd like to move forward with the
Get the
Cancer care pro-
moving, and then you've got
moving,
time.
and then we've got time,
And I'm
hopefully.
I'm assuming you're the active members that are not eligible, or they know the department's trying to figure out something for them.
Right. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
they were there last
Yeah.
night, so they all know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, okay.
But
Well,
there's-
that's cool. Yeah.
There's nothing we have to rule on it.
I mentioned to the chief we would want to put something in the personnel policy probably that just explains
Yeah.
Yeah,
the program and eligibility for that.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Yeah.
You've already budgeted for it, so we don't need to
Yeah.
Right.
move anything. Yeah.
We just wanted to make sure you're aware of it.
Yeah.
It's
No, that's
within-
good.
it's
It's-
within the budget, and
Yeah.
as long as you guys are good with us moving forward with the Aflac policy, we've looked at other ones,
Yeah.
but this is the best
This day and
best one
age,
for us, and
Yeah.
we'd reevaluate if we can find something, keep looking, but I think we'll stick with this for this year,
how many active members up top of your head, do you know?
somewhere around 20.
Yeah. And you could use more.
Well, we're very fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, that's not,
We're
that's a
lucky,
good number. I was,
yeah.
Yeah.
we're very lucky. We get
Yeah.
an active group, from 80, 81, 82 down to just junior member, just graduated from high school and turned 18 last week. So.
and they're, when I was reading the chance of cancer and exposure for
is
even
great,
volunteers.
is
full-time
greater.
is 2 to 3
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So it's a big thing to have for, yeah.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
as long as you guys know what we're doing and we're within the budget, Andy's updated with it and.
Yep.
we just need to work within, because it's an individual's policy. It's not the town's policy.
Yeah, it's under the town is how we had it last night, was the town, but I think it's kind of an individual thing. But I
Right.
think it's written as the billing goes to the town.
Okay. That was the only thing I said we had to work out, because I know he had explained if a member perhaps didn't stay in the active status, but wanted to continue the policy, they
Right.
could.
Can carry it.
Yes, you can
just work through that.
and you could add, I think if you wanted to add like another rider, but you'd have to pay for it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. you can have
But the cancer care
add-ons.
program was funded by the town.
Yeah.
So,
Just the difference between whether it's a direct pay or like a reimbursement thing is all. So we
Right.
can work on that.
yeah, but I think the bill is going to the town for the cancer care program. Is how we had it written up last night. Or Massasoit Engine Company, I can't remember.
All right.
So if you have any other questions, let me know.
No, so
Well,
you keep
John-
forging ahead. We
John, know.
trust you guys. Yeah, keep forging ahead and.
He suckered me into this, so
Yep.
he's going on vacation.
Oh, okay. Yep, That's why
says-
he's not here.
You're gonna do that.
Yep.
All right, I'm over here now.
All right, you
All right.
you signing off, coming back over. Thank you,
Thanks.
Josh.
Thanks for the reminder.
All right, well, we can move on to take a look at our goals now. Is that what we want to do next, everybody? Yeah, and I know Andy had sent us out some homework to do.
I printed one that's gonna be probably a little bit easier to read. I think the one that Tom had was not very easy to read. Depends how yours printed out, I think.
Yeah, Microsoft Word. All right.
Oh, okay.
But if that one's easier,
Oh, yeah. just read it too.
Daryl's is already.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Right. Oh, there we go. Did you have a copy of the goals? Say there's another.
Oh, I think they're in here, right?
I got the notes on
Yeah,
that.
you got one. Okay. All right. Well, there's some extras here. I've got mine. So,
Okay.
all right. So yeah, however we want to do, just want to go kind of get down through and.
Yeah, I know there were some things that didn't, quite get finished or perhaps in some cases even started that was on the list for last year. So I didn't know if you wanted to perhaps start, kind of start with that and identify the ones that, you know, you want to make sure we're continuing. I mean, I know there was one, like the licensing ordinance has been on the radar, it sounds like, for
Long time.
5, 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just checking in to say, is that something like, you know, for example, that the board does want to have us continue looking into and actually get a draft?
Well, I guess we need to start looking at some of the fees for the marijuana licensing to see whether or not we're current, or do we need to increase some of the revenues from some of the other license fees. That was one of my things during budget time, about looking at different ways of revenue on that end. So I guess we have some of it, but I guess it's going to be an ongoing.
Well, I think, yeah, worth clarifying, if, I don't know if the intention through a licensing ordinances was that any business would get a license to operate in the town. Or if you were intending it just to be a fee schedule that gets reviewed every year. It was in there as an ordinance, I wasn't.
Well, I think we started out looking at different types of ordinances. I don't know where we went
I'm
wrong.
trying to remember. I don't know. Yeah.
More of a fee part for me.
Yeah,
but-
I think if I remember the last discussion we had on it was more, you're right. It's like you said, it was more of a look at the fees and what we already have on the books and
Okay.
yeah, maybe not expanding it necessarily to everybody, but just seeing what we already have and if the fees are up to date and whatnot. So
And do we not have a licensing ordinance?
you know, we just have a fee schedule on.
We have a fee
certain-
schedule, but we
certain
don't actually
ones.
have an ordinance.
Not for business licensing, no.
No,
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's recommended.
I think it depends. Each town's a little different. I think the reason why you'd want to do it, you know, matters. You know, I was thinking about it from like a taxing perspective and making sure that personal property tax is assessed equitably. And, you know, if a business, you know, had a license, for example, it doesn't have to be a big fee perhaps, but it kind of puts us on notice saying, okay, someone is doing business. It's a kind of a checks and balance kind of thing to make sure we're staying on top of those. That was just one perspective.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it should be done.
I mean, you'd have to get the permitting if you're going to build a building and, you know, then, you know, again, that kind of triggers the assessment and the taxing on that side to make sure we know it's there and the follow up. But it gives us a chance to come in and see the businesses. And so I don't know if that's something you can think about a little bit, but I know it sounds like it again had been on there for a while.
I
So.
just remember the discussion was that some businesses got established and the town only found out later. And that was in some cases, that was an issue because of what the business was doing or whatever. So this is like you just said, it's a way to force the understanding of what the business is before it starts and gets approved.
I think it's important
Yeah.
that we know.
Well, yes, especially because of the personal property taxes too. If we don't know that we're not assessing the personal property.
So even if you didn't have an ordinance, you could have a business notification or something that even if you didn't have a license fee necessarily. Yeah.
All right.
Assessor
Going
fee.
through there, I don't know what was necessarily meant, was in there was to review the tax exemption eligibility.
So that's, I believe, and Josh, help me out with this one. That's we were looking at tax exempt property, right? And I was looking at
non-taxable entities.
non-taxable entities. Thank you. And just reviewing them and whether they're continuing to use the property
Nonprofit.
as nonprofit within that. So
And that kind of stemmed from talking with our assessing agent. About different towns that have a lot of non-taxable entities that weren't using the areas,
yeah, like open space and
right?
things
Trying to
like that.
tax about as open space and whatnot.
Yeah. And also along the lines of we've talked about different the pilot here and there too. And so, yeah.
All right. We're currently, the technology plan is something on our radar and we'll be working with the IT company on
Yeah, that's definitely.
getting replacement schedules now that, you know, we stop and realize all the computers and I think probably for most, you can probably appreciate when computers go down or the internet's not working, you know, we can still do some work, but you know, a lot of
Yeah.
the customer interaction kind of stops, so.
It's temporary.
Cameras.
But we've got, when you add it all up and look at all the departments and all the
Jeff nodding over
computers
there.
and technology we
Cameras.
have,
Yeah,
Um,
our cameras work, but they're,
there's quite a bit. And I don't think
Dated.
that the $2,000 or $4,000 a year probably wouldn't cover the replacement plan if that's what we want to get to.
What's the
Well-
pavement plan? I don't remember that.
Can I
Are
just go
we-
back to the technology? plan?
Yeah.
I know I brought this up before and listened to some of our past members talking about using our personal stuff.
Mhm.
So I'd mentioned this before about having board members, whether it be planning board or select board members, having their own Chromebook.
Mm.
And then turn them in when their term expires. So that was another thing I was looking at because you know, anything that we use for town things now it's easier. We have Google Mail, so most of that. But if we had to turn in our own personal computer for some
Oh, yeah,
forensic
anything
thing or whatever,
boy, computers and phone and
Yeah,
yeah.
we don't want to do that.
So
so it's something to look at. We'd have to
something to look at.
take stock of, you know, who would need what and how many and. But,
So as we go through these things, are we committing to like reviewing the tax exempt? Are we talking
We're-
about doing something about it?
So when we do the goal,
Yeah.
we're going through them, you know, we might go through some of them briefly, but it's just revisiting them, seeing where they are from last year.
Okay.
Priority levels,
Exactly.
reviewing, you know, we have, you look down the list of assignment, make sure, you know, okay, that's,
Exactly.
you know,
Right.
those in the right areas.
Mhm.
Some of the stuff has moved along from last year. We've got some 100% on here. We hired a town
Right.
manager, which was important, and an assessor's agent, so we get some done.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Um,
assessors agent, we gotta retool it.
Very tool, yeah. So we're going down through and there might be some, it's a review, this, you know,
Okay.
basically, so
And
if you have
then
any
we'll
questions,
decide who's
comments.
going to work on it when and.
Well, it's a lot of this stuff is with the assignments are already in here.
Okay.
They're pretty well worked out where what department, you know, between town manager and public works and so on and so forth. So, but it's always good to see where these priorities have, if they've changed, you know, if they've developed or, you know, going forward there. So, yeah, sorry, there's any comments on that. I'll rattle on here. Yeah, go ahead, Andy. Do you just want to go through them?
The pavement plan would be a good one. I mean, the capital improvement plan is something that you should review kind of annually, you know, before your budget process.
Yeah.
So that's just gonna be on there as an annual one that I had noted that Matt had updated that last year. So, I think usually, you know, depends on the town, but you carry anywhere from 3 to potentially 10 years in your plan and, you kind of update it, you know, either biannual or annually. Always add that next year and that last year in.
Yeah.
So I think he was doing that and kind of giving you a heads up on the big projects and what the funding looks like and whether you need to bond it and plan ahead. So that's an annual one. The pavement plan, that was something that Josh might be able to
Mhm.
Yeah.
help with that.
Yeah, that was kind
Is
of what
that,
we.
is that a new, was that on there last year? Or was it?
We had it on there
We
last
did, okay, I
year, but
can
we
remember.
never really did too much with it. And
No,
I
no.
think you can put your update paving maintenance schedule and develop pavement plan. And also like when you're doing the road, that type of thing, you can put your shoulder ditch and culverts all tied into that whole plan.
Yeah.
So. I think that's something we could work on is if we want to keep going with the Public Works Committee and have a meeting and
Yeah, I
kind of
would,
zip right through things.
yeah, I would encourage, you know, someone if they wanted to attend the Lincoln County Regional Planning is helping host training on the RSMS software that the state had built.
Mhm.
And so it's a road surface management system software. It's pretty straightforward, but it's a nice way to kind of pull it all in
Oh,
into
interesting.
a computer program and help you visualize the roads, miles of roads that need work each year. And, you know, the output on there, it simplifies it to, are your roads in good condition? You're just doing maintenance, or are you doing preventative care? Are you doing Are you in a reconstruction? And it kind of shows you that life cycle of a road. And if you can continue to push out that preventative maintenance and regular maintenance bucket, you're good. Once you start to get to rehabs, it gets more costly, and then eventually it falls off really quick at that 10 or 12-year mark. And then you're talking reconstruction. So if you can keep them in the preventative and routine maintenance column. So that's that plan is right. How do we do that? How do we, instead of getting in the habit of saying, hey, every 10 years, we're going to just repave, are there other solutions that can push that off another couple of years and other cheaper solutions in the meantime, in
Be
between?
more
Recommend do
proactive.
that,
Yeah.
you?
I don't know if someone on the committee, in some places, a committee will kind of take on that inventory. It just involves driving around, and there's a grading rubric that you would take with you essentially, and you kind of set the road up in sections, usually by intersection of road or major changes in the type of road surface. And we pretty much all pavement, but you kind of take the time to break up your roads in segments and then log it in the system that way. And what's nice is over time, if you use that software, say we're about to have done or about to do paving projects, you can track that cost in there for that road, and it kind of acts as a catalog of work that's been done.
That sounds really important, that
Yeah.
one of us should do that.
Josh,
Hmm?
refresh my memory, but that program came up with Matt, I think before we did, or when we did the.
Yeah, we've had access to programs prior
Yeah,
when we had the joint public works in Newcastle, and then kind of things got lost after that breakup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
so is it something we perhaps should revisit?
yes,
Who's
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
committee now?
well,
Who's on the pavement committee? now?
Public Works.
with Lou and I,
Josh,
George
George
Parker,
Parker.
you, and it used to be Matt, but
Yeah.
hopefully Andy would be
Yeah.
kind of taking one spot.
So that's
Maybe-
probably something that
And maybe we keep Matt, see if Matt will still participate. I don't know.
I read it. Does anybody see his little story about his trip out in the ocean? It's like a 3-page thing in one of these local magazines.
Oh,
No,
not yet, not yet.
I can't remember the name of the
Um,
magazine. It's like, but he was big write up about it.
And did you say they're coming up with a train?
Yeah, it's in
That's right.
September, I believe. I can get the date and just actually wonder if it was in.
Yeah, I
the-
don't need it right now, but as long as, okay, that's what I thought I heard you say. So is that
Wanna-
something we may want the Public Works Committee to, the dates and
Yeah, I'll get that and pass it on.
who's available that day, whatever.
Um,
Because you do need some way to manage it, right?
Absolutely.
we're in the progress of, and presumably you'll still want something you had on there as a goal last year to develop a 3-year plan for the public works. Still want to kind of look at that, look at efficiencies and ways
Oh, yeah.
to make them, yeah.
Yeah, job descriptions,
Yep.
contract
Well,
versus
and-
in-house.
And just go back to our just previous conversation, just what we just talked about,
Mhm.
it's all part of that, so. Managing the roads and having the tools and ability to do that, so, yep. Sounds good.
The heater road stuff is still, I just need to get those signatures still on that. I've talked to a couple of the properties and it's just a matter of getting those, and that, just be clear on it says pave
But
heater
it's a
road.
reclaim,
Okay, so it's not,
reclaim page.
okay. There's, for some, there's certainly a difference.
Yeah.
Just make
yeah,
sure.
Reclaim, yeah. Do we budget for that? I can't remember if where that
We
was.
had, what, 2
remember?
years ago, I think we put money in there for 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
there
then
was some
there was
material,
some
but it
delays on,
right.
so,
So it hasn't been done yet.
just,
And
No, there
we
was
have
a couple-
some money for it.
yes.
Yeah, there was a couple of revisions to the proposed, plan and the deeds, and we had gone through another final revision of the deeds, just about 3 weeks ago or so. So I just need to collect those signatures all again. All right.
what was that? Where are we at? Church Street.
Back parking lot at the fire station
That is done.
was the front, the next.
The front needs to be done. So that needs to be on the,
That's right. Did that in stages, didn't you?
and then that, maybe we can tie that within the pavement plan of the town too, as well. But that is a capital improvement that needs to be done.
And that one was a little more involved based on the court. Was that gonna be a little
Yes.
more?
It was. I think we still could do it with how we did the back,
Okay,
but
just an overlay.
Well, we're gonna have
They have to reclaim.
to grind and
It will.
do a little bit of gravel work.
Okay.
Did you have some drainage issues up front or something, or was that?
That got pretty much taken care of a while back,
Okay.
but it's still a couple issues, but the pavement needs to be done.
Needs to be done.
All right, traffic and parking ordinance that had not been started. If that's something you still want us to consider, I know I've talked to Chief Warlick about that already. We're keeping some of the comments I mentioned before that have come in this summer about parking tickets and the
Mhm.
suggestions that accompany those, mostly with the payments, but you know, there are some good thoughts and things to consider in there.
Yep.
And some of those. So, and then I know winter's always a challenge. So, trying to have a meeting, and you know, one of the thoughts was if we're still wanting to update this, if there are things that happen in the winter that we want to try, maybe you'd be open to trying it this winter before making a permanent change in the ordinance, for example, and then we can see if it worked or not. But
E.g. what? You have something in mind or?
I don't. I just heard that there's challenges in the wintertime in regard to the ordinance and making sure things can get cleaned up in a timely manner. And that perhaps there may have been some
Can we
suggestions.
take a look at the current ordinance and,
Mhm.
you know, respond to them? Is that on the website by chance?
It should be.
With the winter parking.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, should be.
Well, it's
pretty,
pretty, maybe you could find it and send it out to us.
It's pretty straightforward. I know they always get it out in the paper in plenty of time and it's posted, but I guess just getting that communication out there because
Mhm.
there's a few people that don't see it. So, yeah. And I see a few tow trucks out there in the morning. Unhappy people with in their pajamas.
Hmm.
Yeah. But it's there for a reason, as long as people understand it.
Right.
Get out there. All right.
So kind of the top of that second page, the ED 1 and 2, those are economic development, as it was on that document I had from last year. So retain, promote, and grow existing businesses, and then encouraging new business development.
Mhm.
Just curious what the thoughts on what that looks like for the board and what the expectation is, for us to, as staff, to be able to help make
Well, I
happen.
think the biggest problem with current business and future business is the lack of housing for workers. Because some of the current businesses can't even stay open, 5 days a week for lack of staff.
And some
So-
can't even open at all.
Yeah, exactly. So,
It's-
I mean, for example, Chrissy's not open because of staffing.
Exactly.
So I think it's unrealistic to try to promote business and new business without dealing with the housing issue.
Yeah, they definitely need to go hand in hand.
Well, how can we help to deal with the housing issue?
Well, on the three recommendations that we were asked to come up with for, additional things, I suggested that, we try to identify potential locations where that kind of housing would make sense. And then even approach the owners of those properties to see if they might be interested in selling, and maybe even approach, adjacent properties. And secondly, even approaching some of the neighborhoods around us, like Newcastle and other bedroom communities, to see what their plans are for housing. Because if they're doing something proactively to create more housing, it's going to help us indirectly.
Yeah.
Because people will go there.
Right.
So assessing what the other towns are doing gives us, worst or best case scenario, or worst case on what they're going to do and how that might affect us. And then if there's a major shortfall and they're not doing anything, then we have to get more aggressive.
And
Go after property managers or real estate brokers and the owners of properties that in areas that make sense, where you can get access. And there's some large plots of land that are privately owned. I don't know what, all those people,
Part of the-
plans are, but
Part of that issue with development too is your sewer and water. That's the biggest part of it. So we also have to get, in order to, bring in any type of housing or any, like, let's say developments or whatnot, they're not all gonna, they have to be on sewer and water. So getting the sanitary district on board with development is, and I'm sure that's more comprehensive plan is probably working on that too. with the business development too, we just did with the TIF district up here, that's always been a big one for me that's on my list. But, we've got that single building up there, just the bank sitting up there and that's a mutually beneficial piece of property up
Who
there.
owns it now?
There's multiple properties
At 455 Main?
that are included in the TIF. I think there's 4 properties in the TIF district. It kind of goes around, it kind of carves out the hardware.
It goes
Yeah.
around back.
Right?
Yeah.
It goes from Camden all the way to, I think, to the intersection of School Street,
Right up
but
here.
kind of carved out the hardware.
But currently right now, with 435 Main Street has the, the ready
Access.
to build or whatever you want to call it.
And it
but-
has sewer and water.
So that's something we need to, I can go into it more. We'll keep moving through here, but.
Will we? I think we need to go into this more. We will, right?
Oh, yeah. We'll go through
Okay.
because I know we all have something to add to this. So if we want to go
Okay.
through I don't know if you want to just move through that.
I think it's
highlight
important
on
just
the
for
list.
me to understand other things from last year that didn't, because it's like some things didn't, or have stalled, like the
Right, you
the
could
next one I was gonna say was broadband. And
Yeah.
you did a lot to talk about that, and there was committees and joint town
Mhm.
effort. And last night, my understanding is that there was an application that went to the congressional, had gone in for the CDS funding. I don't know, Sarah hasn't heard anything, I don't think, on that yet. So, without that, I mean, there was proposals that came to the town, both towns.
Right.
And I don't know where the board is on kind of next steps for that.
Finding some money somewhere.
Yeah, we were looking for.
Well,
State
Bremen
funding.
found their money, right? Bremen found their money and they did it.
I don't know where they're at. Yeah.
Yeah, they put it.
They
in.
didn't,
did it.
they didn't have anything though.
They
So they
what?
qualified. They had no.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
'cause
had
if you
no-
have,
They had no provider.
okay.
yeah, so they probably qualify for way more than,
Mhm.
so they found the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's,
And
That's
they
the
were
important thing,
helping
so,
us.
yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
were actively helping us. But we kind of have stalled now.
yeah, well, it's just, funding. It's an expensive endeavor. So, I guess we just need to keep, grants or there's infrastructure funds coming down the. I don't know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
it's
a
on
lot
the-
of,
It's on the agenda for the next meeting that's coming up, or it's tonight, right? They're talking about it, the Lincoln County.
they could be.
It's on their agenda.
Oh, on the
Yeah.
planning, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, unless you're one of those communities that is just completely unserved, usually a lot of them have expected the towns to be able to put, something forward, whether that was, town taxation money, other privately funded money to help match. But I mean, you'd have to kind of come in with a match for the grant. Whether a provider is willing to provide that and go help, and we can on their behalf kind of partner to go after the grant money if they're willing to match it. But there's a whole bunch of different ways it works or has worked. I think just trying to understand what the board would like to see the town and the staff be doing to try and take those next steps if there are any.
What's Newcastle doing?
I think Sarah said that they were looking at grants.
Mhm. That's what I
They've put
heard,
up, I
too.
think I think she said 60 or 80 grand roughly that they're able to kind of put forward. I mean, if you can use that to leverage another grant and get another grant, I
That's
mean, it's just
it.
the timing has to fall
Yeah.
just right. If you're just kind of trying to do that snowball effect, but
So do you think there's ever going to be any federal money to help with this?
there's lots of federal money.
We just have to find it.
It's there. You have to apply for it, to be in a position to apply for it and have, all of your resources to match. Usually, again, with grants, typically you're having to match.
Right.
Meet the
But there's-
parameters of the grants.
But if we don't,
Yeah.
if we haven't decided what we're going after, then it's hard to come up with a matching.
Chicken and the egg.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we need to move forward, me as a school teacher, hello, everyone needs broadband.
And it's, yeah, a
My
matter of just
students need it.
keeping our finger on the pulse right now and seeing, and I guess, seeing how Newcastle's making out and if they're. At least we can, they've been leading on this a little bit, so we can keep an eye on what they're doing if they're.
Yeah, and
having
keeping an eye on
success.
the Lincoln County, because
Yeah.
the fellow that used to do it with us here, I can't remember his name now.
Evan,
Evan
Yeah.
is.
Oh, right.
He's there tonight talking about what the
Right.
current
Yeah.
status is.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't really give you an answer there, did we?
No, but we need to be looking for grant money and in order to find the funding to make it happen.
I'm trying to remember what we were, because the
Sorry,
the
Josh.
town itself is, well,
We needed
Yeah.
108,000. We needed to match 108.
To go with what the other proposal was.
yeah, that was with,
Yeah, we had to pay the.
that was with working with LCI for that
Right,
grant that was available then.
right.
Yeah, and that was
Which is
like a
past
2 week, that was like a 2 week window, like, hey,
Yeah.
we need the money now.
And we
Right.
said, well, we don't. have
We all
the-
backed out. Yeah, Newcastle couldn't do it. We
Exactly.
couldn't do it. It was just too soon and there's no
Right.
way to do it. So, yeah, and it was kind of a 50-50 with one of the parties making money off of it long term. So it was, yeah, so we all kind of stepped out of that one. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, what you got, Andy? What's next here?
Museum in the streets, a thing that was still desired, or is that? That was on the list from last year. That's I think a relatively, if you got the right partners involved, I think
That was something we had talked about and I don't know if the Historical Society, if that's something there would be a part of. I mean, we really didn't go into it much more than it sounds like a good idea.
Mhm.
But it almost sounds like that might be something, get the Historical Society involved in, if that's something they.
between them and maybe the chamber even.
Tying in with the back parking
Yeah.
lot, you know,
Yeah,
trying to
the
get all
change as
that.
well,
I
yeah.
think that was kind of, we were thought we'd be further ahead on the construction of a
Oops.
project that was supposed to go out to bid March 1st.
But
Oh,
2
dear.
years ago. So it add assignment, it will add Historical Society to it, or chamber, you know, if that's something. Want to have some ideas tossed around. Like you say, it wouldn't make much sense right now to make something permanent or anything that we're tying in the back parking lot at some point, so. All right,
The sidewalk segments along Main Church Biskie intersection.
Yeah.
That's still needing to be done, or is that? Still needs,
Well, there was, one of my 3 recommendations is that we develop budgets or estimates for continuing to extend the sidewalk there in Bristol Road all the way down to Bristol, and then also taking Main Street all the way out to Biscay.
Well,
It's like, you know, people are gonna get killed there eventually walking
Mhm.
along that road.
Yeah.
It's awful. I
I-
had to walk there yesterday and it was just dreadful.
I guess the priority that has been is to get it to the school.
yeah,
right,
Exactly.
So, and
All right.
that's been the
Dig
kind of the
further.
goal to
That's
get,
even further.
to the school is the next priority.
well, the idea was turning, you know, we've got Church Street and then
Right.
coming up.
Yeah.
And going up to the school, so you go from Church Street up through, but not all the way, yeah.
if you get your sidewalk through Church done to the
Yeah.
intersection of Biskie, then my understanding was then there's access across the coastal rivers property.
It's something,
And
yeah,
you get to the crosswalk at the school.
yeah, so it's, yeah,
Well-
it's doable, but it's, yeah.
But
Those-
We need money.
Money. But you know, before you need the money, you need the estimates, you know, you need to get.
Oh, yeah, well.
oh, God.
I'll go with an idea how much it's gonna be, but.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think the priority, well, anyway,
Yeah,
enough said.
All right, we'll continue to work and develop the
yeah,
or broaden relationships with the sanitary district. Assume that's still a good thing to do and
Yeah,
link it up with our projects and know what theirs are and
exactly,
Yeah, and-
having that
And
relationship.
Talking to Scott yesterday that they're still working on with their engineer to do the water line for Church Street
Mm,
when we
Mm.
try to
Okay.
do,
Yeah,
so if.
yeah, including
make
them
sure
in some
they're-
of our meetings with our engineers probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
oh, absolutely, we do need to, you know, I'm not saying we have a bad working relationship, but we leave each other out of the loop a
Right.
lot, and there's a lot of stuff like we just mentioned about housing and whatnot, there's things that, you
Mhm.
know, town has ideas we want to do, but if we can't bring them along, so it needs to be a better mutual working relationship with the.
So
with them,
I know
yeah.
they're looking into some grant money, different programs for
Oh, good.
water line replacement and make the loop for Back Meadow Road as well with in Church Street. I think those were the 2 that were identified for Damariscotta.
Okay.
Is not Olive Church on sewer and water?
No, the Church Street line from the intersection down through is one of the oldest lines they have now that needs to be replaced.
Oh, it needs to be replaced.
So while we're doing our project,
With the
we try to
sidewalks, right?
piggyback and work together to get, they do their thing and then we finish.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
if we can get that coordination, that's the best thing
Mhm.
going.
Absolutely.
And is that up to Andy to coordinate it?
Well,
We
Who
could ask him,
coordinates it?
Probably.
Who
Andy,
does coordinate that?
I'm just in the mix because I was told to be in the mix. So
It essentially comes down on Andy's shoulders, the town manager developing
Right.
those relationships and then.
To let them know what we're
figure- and then-
doing.
And then you go,
and get the
engineering comes in
timeframe,
and
right.
that kind
Gives you
of.
a lot of back.
because I was assigned a task a couple years ago to try to get the information and then bring it back here.
Right.
So,
Shouldn't it go directly with engineer to engineer?
no, I'm
In
just,
some cases.
What
No, I
Well,
mean-
right.
Yeah, there's steps to it.
Right.
So. yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm
you
just getting,
started
I
it.
just give the information
Yeah.
back, get the information and bring it back in.
You would get the ball rolling and then, yeah, it's up to the right people after that. Yep.
Oh. All right, charter, no anticipated changes in the charter. We just did some updates this past year.
Right.
Yeah. We're all good there, right?
Yeah. The community-wide cleanup, that's something you want to see done presumably every year. I think that was sounded like that was a big success to work with
Yeah.
the coastal rivers and
Absolutely.
When are we going to review how the comprehensive committee is doing with their planning?
It's
This is a lot.
delayed. It's currently delayed and the planner is suggesting that all the committees go into hiatus until approximately October. And she wants to do, well, she's doing a lot of review of what's been done up to now and
Okay.
she's developing a plan, the timeline and assignments, and she's got to do a lot of work. She's picking up.
And there's a lot of data collection that's happening. She was just showing me yesterday some of the stuff she was
Yeah,
putting together.
she's going to provide all the committees with data that they can then rely on to make some decisions. The data is so old right now that you don't know what you're dealing with in terms of population, traffic, this and that. So it needs to be updated.
Our data is old.
Yeah, the data that's available for us to make decisions.
Where do we get our data from DOT?
Well,
It
it
depends.
comes from a variety of different
Okay.
places.
I think she saw her role is, instead of having the committees spend
Yeah.
all this time going to get all the data,
Yeah.
she can help get the data and then have the committee's time focused on talking
On the
about
data, yeah.
what are we seeing? What can we be doing? What should we be looking
Yeah,
at?
She basically said, why don't you go hold tight for a
Yeah.
while and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
That makes sense. And that's a
Yeah.
big project. That's a.
She also extended the line out, the whole plan out because of it, because of, we're
What is
not, we're
the,
not where we should be right now, but she's gonna have a much more comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah.
That's great.
I think there'll be an update probably at the next meeting. There was a couple of things she's been looking into, like a website kind of specifically for the plan that people could
Right.
go to. And
Yes.
so that was something that I was talking to her about, and she'll probably have a request to use the reserve that was set up to kind of buy into that.
And
Yeah.
she was also talking about using something that she used in Saco where the public can get involved and take a map of the town. And personally, each person can put a dot on the map and suggest something be done at that place, like put a public playground here or do this or that.
Oh, interesting.
So all that data you can get the public input into the whole plan.
Yeah.
Well, how have we done with the survey? Are people filling it out?
It's just getting rolling right now. I
Okay.
mean, we're starting to put posters up in various places. We talked at the last planning session, we talked about whether or not we thought it was thorough enough. And really right now, we're just trying to get a feel for the broad issues. And we'll do a much more detailed
Yeah,
one next
pare it down
spring.
as you need.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
spring is gonna be more detailed.
Thank you, Tom, for keeping on with that. So that's a big project.
It is.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Noblesboro just finished theirs. Their comprehensive plan, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would tell you that I think that our new planner is gonna do good things.
Really?
Yeah, it's an improvement.
That's great.
Good. Anything else on there, Andy, you had to touch base on?
That covers last year's list, I think. So it's just, again, providing the opportunity for things that you were saying, presumably that align with the budget, and, the resources we have
Mhm.
that we have budgeted for this year. Just, kind of being mindful of that. And, my hope, I did kind of give you something a little more detailed when it comes to the work plan for this year. And, my hope is to, kind of take a much shorter version on it, because we're 2 months in, almost 2 full months into this new fiscal year. So, but for next fiscal year, my hope is that we can try and do something a little bit more ahead of the budget process on the front end, to kind of justify increases or changes to the budget for next year, and kind of lead with that. And so and then that'll give us a chance as staff to kind of, once you've approved a budget to go to vote, we can spend a little more time before the year starts talking about how are we going to allocate staff, or, making sure we're lining up the calls to say, we can just say go on July 1st on a few things. And so we're not waiting until August or September to kind of start having those staff meetings.
Yeah, get ahead of the goals and go, yeah.
But there's plenty from last year to kind of, again, pick up and continue, and look forward to what you have for other things that haven't been talked about yet. So did you?
Yeah.
Tom had a few.
Yeah, we can move on. I think
Well-
we'll get a chance to. Tom, go ahead if you want to start.
Well, did everybody do it, or I didn't know we were supposed to do it today. I just.
That's all right. That's all right.
I think, yeah, there's a few things you wanted to throw out
We
there.
had individual goals for town, any ideas?
It doesn't have to be, yeah, if you've got some ideas, go
Well, all right,
ahead.
I mean, I already talked about this.
Yep.
And I said, develop a program to identify properties suitable for low-income housing.
Mhm.
And then the measure would be identifying suitable property and willing sellers. Advertise and outreach to the public and real estate brokers about the desire to do that, using Evan's pen to get that into the paper as a project for the town. And it would, I think it's absolutely critical path to helping current businesses to, operate. And we're trying to attract new ones. If the current ones can't staff, you bring a new business, how are they gonna stay?
And we have a new project going in. The nursing home is gonna employ a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
And where are we gonna put those people to staff them?
Yeah, I think the number one priority right now is housing.
Housing. I totally agree. And not just low income housing, just
Yeah, housing, yeah.
normal, like
Affordable.
thank you,
Affordable housing, yeah.
affordable
Gotta
housing.
put that,
Yes,
Not
I like the word
not
affordable.
subsidized, not.
Exactly.
yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
You want
And,
taxes out of it.
some of this is
Yes.
redundant to
Yes.
what's already there, but
that too.
I said, the second one was develop a long-range development plan, including estimates and funding for sidewalks and bicycle paths.
Mhm. Yes.
It'll make the town more useful for the current citizenry and more attractive for new people. And for that matter, even businesses. I mean, I saw an older fellow who was barely able to walk, pushing a wheelchair down Main Street between the gas station and Main Street Grocery,
Mhm.
and there's no sidewalk.
No, it's horrible.
So I just slowed down just naturally and felt bad for the guy, but I mean, from School Street down to Napa, auto parts, I mean, that's a joke. There's
Yeah.
nothing, you can't, I mean, you gotta be real careful if somebody's walking there when you turn that corner.
I did. I walked to
saw,
Walgreen
yeah.
yesterday and it was scary being on that.
Yeah.
That very bad side of the road,
Busy road.
twisting.
Measurables,
ankles.
the plan would be documenting and mapping with estimates, the sidewalk locations, whatever. You need public support from the taxpayers. You got it, but then again, you need estimates, and then you got to figure out whether we can get a bond, or we can get a grant, or we can get some combination, or we got to raise the taxes. Our town has limited safe areas to walk and ride, and providing such makes the town more useful and attractive and safe. And then, the other things are pretty much what we're already doing. Complete major infrastructure projects, including the waterfront project, the Belvedere and School Street projects. Now, that's another thing. I stood today when I was coming over here. There was a guy trying to turn left at School Street.
Hmm.
And I must have been there, I don't know, 5 minutes waiting for him
Yeah.
to get an opening. So I don't know whether we need to
God, not
sort of
another
try to get
light.
the state to,
Dear God.
Did the,
to move that along or whatever, but we gotta cut that left turn there. That's the killer.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I'm a, violator myself, but I'd rather give that up any day than have to deal with it.
Hard spot.
Yeah, I think my understanding was the plan was that, they wanted to install it this summer and have it for the summer and fall to try and get data and see how it works.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the work crew to be able to install it. They found all the equipment and everything that would need to be done. They had the paint crew saying they could do it. And we didn't have the staff sufficient.
Yeah.
The equipment, the training, so I'd asked them, I said, we have 2 people. I can't possibly, we were even willing to have the police help out with traffic control. But with 2 people installing it and we don't have the equipment to do it.
Yeah,
We've never
that
done it. So I
Yeah.
said, can you give us a couple of people to work with and direct us to do it? And they weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the hope
and-
is that next
So as long as
spring that they be able to do it.
keeping that conversation going with DOT and.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that,
Mental.
that's the second highest, accident area
Mhm.
in our area. I mean, the one is over on Route 1, but
Yeah.
the second one is right there.
Really? The School Street one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's also the you probably, everybody else here knows it, but it's the highest traffic area we have. Because
Oh, it's
everybody's
horrible.
coming from the peninsula and going down to Hannaford or whatever.
But God forbid we should put in another light, please. Ugh.
No,
Can't people just be careful?
well, I mean, it's a good thing that this is not New York because you'd never be able to take a left turn.
No.
Some people stop and let you go and flash their lights, but if it's in New York, forget it. You'd be there for days.
That's true.
Well, thank you, Tom.
That's
Lou, do
all I
you
have.
have anything to add tonight? Yeah, we'll go down. And did you get a chance to look
So I
over
have-
some?
Well, so one of my very odd questions is Damariscotta is the center for a lot of what we call sending towns. We support other towns around us, but we pay for all the infrastructure. Like no one really helps us to keep up our roads so that they can go to Hannaford or whatever. Is this typical?
Yeah.
As a service
Yeah.
center, yeah.
So
But
service
South Bristol
centers just
subsidizing
have to-
ambulance now.
Yeah.
We were paying for all the ambulance activity too, and
Mhm.
now we've even that.
Now we've
playing field.
shared
Yeah,
that a
yeah.
little, right?
A little bit
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
Are there other things that we could share to help so that we can redirect money to make things happen that we want to happen?
It's a good question, but I don't
I don't
know.
think it's ever happened, but.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure either. I just know
Yeah.
that we are responsible for everything and
We could start taxing everybody that comes from out of town to go to Hannaford, the Damariscotta tax,
That
5 cents and here and there.
Might last a
adds
half
up.
a day, maybe, and then.
how about a
Yeah.
bridge tax, a
Yeah.
tax to come across?
Yeah, sure.
A toll booth, yeah.
Toll booth.
But it is the unfortunate reality of being a service center is that
Right.
we have, we were a town of what, 2,000 odd, all
Exactly.
tax
And
paying, and then, and you
and we're
have
supporting
10,000 people
10,000,
come.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
We
you pay
are.
5
So
cents for a paper bag, you at least pay 5 cents to support Hannaford
right.
access,
Yeah, but again, you do it through,
I see a driver's license.
business
You-
development. You do it through business development and make sure you have healthy businesses and folks that want to, housing, live here, pay
Exactly,
taxes,
right.
that's where you bring it. So the tax burden is quite high right now on a small amount of, relatively small amount of taxpayers.
Mhm.
So that's, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
It's the reality,
Yeah,
but that
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
mean that we couldn't put a thinking cap on and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
into
well,
what-
anybody's
look
open to any
into
original
what oth-
ideas, yeah,
Look into
exactly.
what other service centers do,
Yeah.
just in general.
We'll have Andrea talk to that fellow down in Bristol, what's his name, that you know so well,
Oh, South Bristol.
South Bristol.
South Bristol.
It'll be all that. It'll be
Yeah,
all right.
so.
I mean, some of it's
Yeah.
being done through regionalization, right? And so there's, as an area, you've got the shared transfer station, a shared
Right.
ambulance service. So in some ways, you at least have that in place where there is some regionalization of those services like that. So you're not also duplicating and doing them all yourself. That's another, so are there other ways we can, take a regional approach to things and work with the county on? I know, counterpart in Wiscasset's been big on, what can the county do to help with ambulance services, as we're all kind of competing and, fighting for staff and That's one that he's talked about at the conference I was just at.
Years ago, Newcastle was trying to figure out what they want to do with a town office. And
Hmm.
we approached them and asked them if they'd like to come here and,
Yeah.
you know, we'd have a Newcastle counter and a Damariscotta counter and have one building, but they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to lose their identity.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we're,
So-
sorry, we're called Villages for a reason,
so
right?
that's what we had
Okay, so we
feedback
did
on
reach
it.
out.
and We've tried different avenues, we've tried different things.
Well, it's like the information center. Why aren't we sharing one? Well, why do we need two information centers?
We don't,
Newcastle has one, right?
well, we get the
No,
physical building that's,
Yeah, it's just,
Here,
it's a different
and
region.
it was
So it's just,
available.
it's just gonna be the one, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it will, so Newcastle doesn't have their own.
Yeah,
No.
so
Okay.
Denver's got a region chamber of commerce, so they encompass a broad area. Yeah, whoever wants to be a member basically within that area, so. Yeah, I don't know how far out they reach. I don't know who all their members are, but it's, yeah. Has Damariscotta on it, but it's.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah,
regional.
Yeah, it's regional. Yeah, absolutely. So.
So that's
Yeah.
something we need to work on, raising money to get that going.
They're
The
working
Chamber
on
of
it.
Commerce is.
Chamber of
doing
Chamber of
that.
Commerce, yeah,
Commerce
that's
is
not
doing that.
Town's Chamber of
Perfect.
Commerce.
Perfect. Someone
Yeah,
else is doing
so
it.
they're, yeah. They have a good group, good leadership right now, and they're out knocking on doors and, yeah,
Mhm.
so they're doing pretty well. They'll get it done, so, yeah.
And my last comment for the night, maybe, is we don't have a park.
Hmm.
We don't have a park.
We got Riverside Park.
We have a village with no
Yeah.
park where people gather and the kids play and. Okay, I know that it's not a priority,
And you need
but
money.
for me, it's like villages should have a park to gather, to bring people together.
Oh, we got big parks. We got Coastal Rivers Conservation Trust is a giant park.
Well,
Yeah, there's some
You
big
know?
tracks there that are utilized, yeah. Yeah.
so maybe we should talk to them.
I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah,
open
that's a good
space.
idea.
There's a lot of open space in this area.
There is.
So
Mr.
it's just
Huffman.
about, what do you want in a park?
Yeah.
Well,
Do you want a gazebo with a place where a band can play? Because that's been talked about
Mhm.
Yeah.
before and.
Yeah, do you have
Yes.
infrastructure? Do you have?
I don't think I don't think that's a good idea. I think-
Swings and, do you want water there? Do you want, water fountains, drinking fountains, paved paths? So it's, yeah, well, that's what, exactly. So you're gonna, if you put it out there to, what am I trying to say, you ask 1,000 people, you're gonna get, so it just all depends on what the vision of it is, so.
right.
But you need the property and you need some money.
Yeah.
So those are the two starting
No, but
points.
I think Andrew's got a good point. You gotta have a starting point.
Yeah.
And the starting point is discuss the possibility with people who have the land, and Coastal River's got plenty of land, and Mr. Hoffnagel is a pretty smart guy.
So
Yeah.
is it appropriate that we approach them?
It's not a matter of appropriate. I mean, it's certainly possible. It's nothing to say you couldn't do that.
I think it's a great thing for the comprehensive plan to be working on in terms of like a
Yeah.
longer, because there are a lot of places, and I think, there's great maps and resources and
He's got
state
a-
properties and land trust properties. I mean, I think there's plenty of parks, so I think the comp plan would be a great place to kind of
Yeah,
talk
that's a good
about
idea.
recreation. I think is kind of in there. And so
Yeah.
what is it we're lacking? We got a great YMCA, you
Right.
got
Mhm.
lots of trails. I mean, there's a lot already here, so
There's
like
already
what is
trails.
missing?
Yeah, you go down there with
You,
your
uh,
business.
If
Yeah.
you don't mind, I could bring it forward to the planning department.
That would be
Yeah,
I
awesome.
mean, not
Thank
department.
you.
the,
That would be awesome, Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrea.
I think there are things we can do with the Riverside Park, with the project going on to enhance it a little bit. I mean, you're limited with
Oh, we definitely,
space,
we
um,
definitely
spot.
want that.
things that we're looking at doing with that project. that-
Absolutely,
yeah.
but that's one
Mhm.
part of our
Right,
village.
Mhm.
But the second part should be a serious gathering place
Yeah, that's a
that
good
brings
idea.
families
Good idea.
together and. But you're absolutely right, Riverside is important.
Josh?
Josh, you're up.
And Tom had brought this up, but my number one priority for this year was construction management.
Mhm.
Trying to keep our investment in line with that bond figure for 2 roads. With Miles Street, Hodgson Street, the back parking lot. And we had talked about trying to have someone oversee these projects.
Yep.
And trying to have a separate firm that would oversee for us, not the engineers. Look out for the town of Damariscotta's best interests, not the contractors, not the engineer.
Mm.
You know,
The town, yeah.
for the town.
Mhm.
So you'd want to see a different party and, engineering service involved in you'd rather see someone inspecting and being on the site like a clerk of the works type thing,
Kind of, yes.
not
but-
someone second guessing the engineers you've paid to do the design, right?
Well, like some of the paving projects we talked about having, it's in there about testing,
Mhm.
making sure the product's compacted, it's done right, culverts,
Mm.
as long as they're overseeing that project, then and we know those products are gonna be tested and sent out, which is defined in the scope of
Okay.
the bids and whatnot. But when we get to the major project of the back parking lot, we need to have a construction manager
Mhm.
for us.
Yeah, it works for the town.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I believe we talked about it before, we thought there were funds within that EDA for
Yeah.
for us to
Construction
hire
management.
construction
Yeah.
management.
That was something we talked about for a while. Haven't-
So as moving forward, as long as we know that we're gonna be testing the products of the contractors, compaction rates, whatever, we need to protect our infrastructure within those projects, but then when you segue into the back parking lot, we need to make sure
Mhm.
we hire somebody
For sure.
to do that.
Mhm.
And that's gonna be coming up if we do get the EDA go ahead.
Right.
To move forward, then we need to think about how are we gonna do an RFP for construction management? Or do we touch base with a couple different people and
Mhm.
do it that way?
Right.
We definitely need the oversight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we need.
What about on Miles Street? Should we try to see if the hospital will chip in on something like that?
Well, I think that's built in on that too, isn't it, Andy, on that engineering a little bit? Were they testing on that one as
I have
much?
to go back and look at the
I-
engineering service. I mean, so when you hire your engineer, I mean, some firms have the capacity to serve in that role, and it's just a matter of contracting and making sure, clear and whatever you're signing with them that it's included. Sometimes it stops short of that and they'll say,
Right.
we can do this next step if you want, or they assume that we're doing it. And if we're not clear on that and hire someone, then it doesn't get done.
Yeah,
The
but-
engineers stand behind the design, but
Yeah.
you run into other issues if you don't. So it just being clear, and I can go back and look at our current
Right.
contract to say, is that something that's included in those services that they've already signed on for?
But I think that's a major, we're putting a lot of money,
Mhm.
Huge
in
project.
in
Right.
these projects that
Mhm.
we can't just say, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, right.
And if it's
exactly.
not good, we
Then
get
we-
a
with it-
bad job.
You
Yeah.
look at the warranties on those projects, it's a 1-year warranty,
Mhm.
after you accept it. So, those projects and they're supposed to last a long time and we need to make sure it's done right.
We already had that mess in the plumbing in the parking lot.
Yes.
So if we can, that's to me a major priority for us moving forward for the year.
For
Definitely on the
future
lodge.
construction of anything.
Yes.
Definitely on the lodge projects.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we built Great Salt Bay, the original school, we had a clerk of the works.
Mhm.
We still had things
Yeah.
that went wrong.
Like the gym floor.
Yes, like the gym floor. Well, the acoustics too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we can work that within our budget.
Mhm.
And see how we can pay for that moving forward.
Right.
Another thing we've talked about for the last couple of years and moving forward is oversight and developing public works, and that's in our goals. That was one of mine. For this year is to try to get job descriptions and everything in line. Pricing, contract versus in-house, see how we streamline that a little bit better and make it efficient. And I think we're already on the right path of doing that, and that goes with the paving plan and all that too as well. So that was my other number 2 priority. And the biggest of all, for number 3, would be the town revaluation. Because we need to do that. There are properties out there that we have, that the town has assessed. And I was talking to Andy about this one property. We rode by it the other day and said this one's on the market for $1,050,000, and we have that valued, the RSS value at $419,000. There's been some other properties that I looked into that we had valued at like 330,000. They sold for almost 600,000. We have a couple other ones valued at like 200, 250, 260, sold over 550,000. So, you know, we know that we're behind. Yes, it doesn't show. The market was hot, but now it's starting to slow down. But we've need to make sure that we move forward with what we said for a plan, saving money to do the reval.
Yeah, see where the funding is, we
Yeah.
money aside
But-
for it.
Some of that, though, is the result of the current conditions, which were unusual prior to 2 years ago. The property values, a lot of the property values were fairly good.
They were close.
They were
Yeah.
close, but now in this market, the way people bid on the properties has caused an unusual situation. You know, you get a house
Yeah.
that last year you couldn't sell at 200,000, and all of a sudden you sell it within 3 days at 350,000,
Sight unseen.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That too.
So I think as long as we stay on our plan and we've identified that we want to set a capital improvement program with that funding source, but maybe we it'd be nice to do a third, you know, sooner than
Yeah,
later.
we had
I
kind of
think we
goal
need
last
to
year,
do-
goal like starting it this year again or something,
Yeah.
but
we kind of had to back
We had to
off
back
because
off
of the
on the-
budget.
on the funding with the budget.
Yeah.
Said, we gotta wait a little bit. It was-
But
Get a
now
little
can we
tight.
move forward this year?
But I think it would have to do it in 2024, I think was what we had.
It's
Not even
it's expensive.
2023?
It's really
yeah,
expensive.
It's
very
expensive.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe we
Yeah,
can
it's a good
talk with
job.
the assessor and
Yeah.
say, hey, we've got X amount of funds right now. Could you work
And-
on this
Put it
third of town?
aside for it,
Right.
Yeah,
but we're not at there 100%. We think we need
But
to be, so.
We can do,
I think a lot of times you usually get quoted based on the number of parcels you have. And I wouldn't even dare to guess what it's at right now. I just know it's very expensive to go through and
really?
Yeah.
if you're willing to commit to having it all done at once, you know, the approach of kind of phasing it and depending on the assessors, I mean, if you can do the kind of quarter reviews or, you know, if you cut up in thirds, you know, kind of take it sections of the community. I mean, it takes a little bit longer, but you're spreading that
But wouldn't
cost
it
out.
be
or you-
worth it? Wouldn't it be
It all
worth it in
depends
the
on-
long run because you're gonna increase your revenue?
You're not gonna, I mean, you're still gonna generate the same amount of money.
Mhm.
But you're gonna generate the money you need to cover your budget.
Yeah.
You're just redistributing it based on,
Yeah.
you know,
You've just got, you're increasing the values, but you might be dropping the mill rate.
mill rate.
right.
Also, assuming inflation keeps
Oh.
going,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you stretch it out, you're gonna get higher values.
You don't do the reval to get more money. You just, yeah, your budget process dictates what you need, you know, it might lower some people's mill rates.
And then it will raise.
Tax bills, it'll raise others.
Others.
Somewhere
Yeah.
around,
The mill rate should go down based on the market that,
Mhm.
But ours has
It's
been going
driven.
down. Ours has been going
Till
down
this
for
year.
a few years, until this year.
Yeah, we were able to make some adjustments and that was,
Yeah.
the town is frugally responsible and.
right, the big difference there is,
We were able to make those adjustments for a little while, but.
yeah,
In utilizing the capital improvement program,
Yeah.
planning out your major purchases, you know, years in advance have saved us money and you don't have to borrow so much money. We wrote a check out for the fire truck for 400 and whatever it was, $30,000. We had,
But you had
but we didn't have to,
in the budget
we have that in the budget
rate.
planned out over time,
Mhm.
so.
So, yeah.
That's all I
You
got.
good?
I'm good right now.
Who's left? Me?
Yes.
So,
most of the stuff all the stuff we already touched on, and I went through it when we went through it originally here, but big ones for me are just, seeing that back parking lot at least go out to bid. I'm not gonna keeping my expectations low, but just some movement on that, I know there's a lot of stuff out of our control, but as soon as we can get some answers and get some stuff out there and get some numbers back. So the other one, we talked a lot about economic development and whatnot. Again, the current TIF district, we've got a underutilized spot up there. What's the, I'm hesitant to, the town can only control so much, but is there ways we can promote, look at what types of businesses would be, ideal for the town, what would fit in there, we people have different ideas of what we'd like to see. I think we all agree that we want to have businesses that can give people long-term employment. Obviously, we need housing, but career-based jobs, things like that. So what types of businesses would go there, and how do we attract them, and how do you work with the developer to get that in without marrying too much government and private enterprise. So, just going over the payment in lieu of taxes, tax exempt areas, revisiting those, what's out there, what do we have? And that would be something that, again, working with the assessors and coming up with a plan to just, see what can be done, or, we talked, it was 2 years ago, we talked about do you remember that? We talked about a pilot, presenting, going, hey,
You would,
do you
pilot
feel
for
like,
Payment in lieu of
be involved in
taxes.
this? You can't force people that are, but can you present it in a way that says, there's a huge burden on the individual taxpayer, individual businesses, and, this is what we're dealing with. And, we have a few nonprofits that are really good, and they give us, they give what they can, because they know there's an impact there, but maybe getting that education out, and so that's other stuff we kind of went over. So I won't drag it out any longer for everybody. So
One other point is about, the fact that we don't have enough housing, and we have people doing Airbnb and they don't live here. So, it's not owner occupied. They're not living in the buildings. They're just buying these buildings and then Airbnb-ing them out. That's something that we should probably think about.
yeah, I don't know how you,
Well, we still are getting the real estate taxes.
Right.
But that could come under the ordinances that maybe there should be a license or something,
Well, maybe we need to limit the licenses.
recognize it as a business.
Right, and limit the
Responsible.
licenses that people have, because we really need housing. And Airbnb doesn't help housing. It only helps the economy.
well, it helps that,
Bringing in the people.
you've got a property owner that's paying taxes. It's helping them pay the taxes. So
Right.
it does, and it brings somebody in the area, to if they're coming in for a weekend or a week or whatever, they shop. They're here for a reason too.
Right.
So it's, you look at it similar to staying overnight in a hotel or an inn, something like that. So.
But an inn and a
Just-
hotel is never going to be really used for housing.
No,
It
but.
is a different,
But you can't, I mean, who's to say that somebody's doing an Airbnb isn't necessarily gonna rent it out either, so. Possibly, I don't know how you'd regulate that, but you could look into it as a.
It's just-
As maybe as
it's-
an ordinance, but.
I don't know, it's just something to put
Yeah.
on the thought process
Yeah.
for
But-
future.
But they're still spending money at the grocery store, at the restaurants, at all the shops.
Yeah, the folks that are.
Buying gas. Gotta buy gas.
Yes, you do, yeah.
Oil prices.
Let's not go there.
Well, they're plugged into the EV stations now.
Yeah,
Anybody notice the
Yeah.
oil prices?
yeah,
Yeah.
Doubled since last year.
What's doubled?
Oil prices.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Unbelievable. This winter is gonna be rough on a lot of
Yeah.
people.
it's gonna be
Is that,
horrible for the older
we wrapped up
people.
with
It's
the,
it's gonna be
That's-
horrible for the older
I
people.
think that other than the last, anything from the select board, if you have any.
I think we all agree we've probably gone through comments. It's probably enough for tonight.
Yeah.
We went through goals and whatnot, and we can follow up on anything.
Yeah, Evan's falling asleep.
Fun, yeah.
Sorry, Evan.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
remember we've got to do,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh,
we'll
this
go
is
through that real
another
quick. Yeah, assessors meeting, but we're gonna go through.
Oh,
assessors
that's the
really
next
quickly.
one. Oh, gosh.
We're going to, yeah, just make it a
Okay.
reminder. So I heard a motion from
Tom.
Tom, made a motion to adjourn, Lou
Aye.
seconded. All those in favor, I'll skip the discussion.
Perfect.
Moving on. All right.
Okay.
With that, we will call the Board of Assessors, their Town of Damariscotta Board of Assessors meeting, August 17th to order. And we get it in front of me here. We have minutes from June 6th. Anybody want to move those?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of, was it July 6th?
July.
Yeah, July 6th. I said June, July 6th.
Second.
All right, Lou seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Assuming we don't have any citizen comments or correspondence regarding the Board of Assessors at this point, so we want to move on to the commitment.
Yes.
So I've given you a couple of different sheets. One that has the captured value listed at the top.
Mhm.
That was from our assessor. So they've identified, and that's the captured value is the captured value of the TIF district. So that gets kind of pulled out separately and gets put in its own fund, and then is spent based on how the program was outlined for it to be spent, like for sidewalks going up Main Street, for example.
Mhm.
Doesn't have a lot in there this year. With the proposed mill rate at what it's at right now, it would raise $12,257 for that fund, that TIF district fund. So overall, the second sheet in there, I'm probably gonna jump to that one. It just kind of summarizes or compares last year to this year. And so it's worked, I've used it before. Josh picked up a small typo on that one. So yes.
Small. I sent him a picture. I said, I'm doing my homework today and I didn't know I moved to an island.
Yeah.
So it was a
Are we
worksheet I had
talking
used.
about this one?
Yeah.
This one?
It was a worksheet I had used while I was out there, so it was a nice way to summarize the 2 years. So towards the bottom there, you'll see the county tax had gone up 50,500, so that was almost 10%. The municipal appropriations up 15%, revenue sharings increased by almost 50%, so it's an additional $100,000 estimated to come in for this year, offsetting our expenses, and then the non-property tax revenue estimated to be up 57,000. The TIF's up a little bit, so that again, that gets pulled out and is something that has to get funded. The overlay, we're proposing to bring that down from what it was last year by 36,000. And then a small reduction in the Betty eligible personal property. So at the bottom there, you'll see the last two lines that the total taxable value, that's the increase that they had found through the spring work and whatnot. So that was an increase of $3 million on the tax base that was picked up, almost 1%. And then the tax rate as presented or being proposed would be an increase of 75 cents on the $1,000 of assessed value, or a mill rate increase of 4.72%. And that last sheet kind of that's there, that third sheet there walks you through the kind of the formulas in the spreadsheet that's used to get to the mill rate. So kind of towards the bottom, line 19 is the proposed mill rate at 1665.
Mhm.
You can see just below that, lines 21 and 22 is the range, or sorry, that's the setting rate. Line 17 and 18 is the range the mill rate can be set at, based on the expenses and revenues there in the value. So at a minimum, the tax rate would have to be set at 1652, and the maximum at 1735. The difference there is what you'd carry for an overlay. So Again, last year, I think it was about 80 grand. Proposed bring that down to 44. That's used to carry any amount available for abatement requests or, there's a lot of reasons why you would have that there. It's been kind of all over the place the last few years. But trying to bring it down to 44 and near 40 is what we were suggesting it be.
Yeah, I think you want to try to keep it as low as you can,
Yeah,
especially because the people that meet the certain requirement of the new state
Mm,
reimbursement would benefit if we keep it as low as we can.
Mhm.
If you're over the certain age.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Do my best to answer any questions you might have on that.
Questions for Andy at this point, or?
You know, we've done from, I think there's minimum like 35,000 to like 120, I think. We've
Yeah.
done
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
so
yeah.
I think this
We dropped
will
it down
work.
last year at 80. We were 100 something. We went down to
Right.
80 with the 59 or whatever. So, yeah.
So if we can, I'm fine with moving with the 16.65. As much as I don't want to.
No, I don't think we have a choice, do we? No.
No.
But is it to our advantage to have the overlay this low?
I mean, unless you've got a reason you're trying to fund it. I mean, our fund balance is not at a point where we're trying to make up for, a low amount there. It's at I think we have still going through the audit for 22, but I think it appears to be somewhere around the 1.2, 1.3 range, which is probably
Where we
where
want to
you're
be.
going to want it to be at a minimum. That would give you, I think they said 2.5 months, and usually you shoot for 3, because 3 months of cost if you can.
Right.
And we don't have to do a
Pretty-
tax anticipation note, so.
Right, you don't want
Yeah.
to
We don't
borrow
want to do
money.
that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got to make an adjustment when we keep it as low as possible, and
Okay.
that, that's a recommendation. So who wants to be the,
I thought Josh just did.
I think Josh was going to make the motion.
I said, unfortunately, I have to support this. I
He didn't
said.
say I'll
He
make a
did,
motion.
he did say he was going
All
to
right,
support
so,
it.
so 16.65 is the proposed number, right?
Correct.
And Lou's gonna second.
All right, I'll, Josh, we're gonna make Josh be the bad guy tonight, so. I'll make a motion to, set the mill rate at 16.65. That all we need for motion?
Mm-hmm. A second.
You seconded? Yeah, sorry.
I did.
All right. Any discussion?
Got out.
Get out of it. No, yeah, no discussion. All those in favor? Reluctantly,
Yes.
we might add.
It is okay
Yes.
to vote no on things when it comes budget time. I will remember.
Yeah.
Remember, it's okay to vote no.
Yes, yes. Okay.
But for the good of the town,
I make a motion, we adjourn. Lou?
No, we can't.
Do they have a second?
We got a services.
We got assessing.
Second?
Are we gonna talk
Yeah, he
about,
seconded.
are we talking about assessing services contract?
Oh,
Yeah,
shoot.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh. Shoot.
You better rescind.
I'll make a
your
motion. We approve the assessing contract.
We want to briefly check the contract, right?
This is, we already looked at this when Matt signed it.
Yeah.
so there was good. The current contract is valid, I think, either
Till-
to or through November,
mhm.
till November 1st. And
Do
so
you have any suggestions to change it?
I think one thing that's worth noting, the board wanted to have an earlier commitment, and so find it quick.
We just need, yeah, we need to set
need
a
to set the
date. We need
date.
a
One of the items in here in the contract is states that they'll follow the commitment date set at annual town meeting. So you don't identify the commitment date at town meeting. And
Yeah.
so is that something you just want to note in here and just say you want to see taxes committed by August 1st, or what it is in the contract, instead of saying annual town meeting.
The second meeting in July.
Mhm.
So that way it gives them something to hold them
Yeah,
to.
we can put it
an
in the
expectation. They
contract.
know upfront what it
Yeah.
is, and
Yeah, I don't have any reason why. Is it second meeting in July? That doable for everybody? That makes sense, Andy?
Especially if you're trying to have them do
Yeah.
it by October 1st.
Absolutely.
So the more lead time you give them, the taxpayers, the better off you are.
Mhm. I
Um,
agree.
And have you talked to them, Andy, about extending the contract, or are they good?
I
moving
haven't,
ahead with the current kind of the same type of wording? Or,
I have not brought it up with them
Okay.
yet.
Okay. And it's, yeah, November, right? So we gotta, yeah,
The only things that,
make changes then.
the only things I think we need to talk with them about in greater detail before we, kind of put a draft forward is the revaluation process that you want to take and whether you want that part of this service or you want to potentially look for a different, I think they certainly offer that service. So if you want to entertain that as kind of either included in this and kind of highlight, you want to do a 2, 3, 4 year approach to revaluation or a 1 year approach. If you're going to do it all in 1 year, you probably should just do that as a separate kind of bid project process.
I think we should do it in stages.
And then other than that, just would be worth talking with them. They're still trying to figure it out too, but making sure that this new state tax program that's a lot of people are interested in is covered in the contract because it's
okay.
unknown how much time that's going to absorb of their service.
Right.
I know there was some discussion about, what kind of help there'd be internally, from our staff for them
Yeah.
potentially. And so we're all still trying to figure out, how does the state want us to be tracking and report to them? I mean, is it a spreadsheet? Is it a portal? I mean, it's just a little bit unknown. So all we're doing right now is just collecting the applications and we've probably got, there's quite a stack, probably 25, 30 already.
Sure, okay.
And so people can apply up until December and that'll be effective for not this tax bill, but you would freeze this year's tax amount going forward. Those towns that are on a calendar year, fiscal year, it would work for them. They would be freezing this current year's amount for what they'd be going into and assessed for
Right.
in a few months. That's the push to get for those towns. So we'll be able to kind of see how, they're going to have to unfortunately bear the brunt of figuring out all of that and
Yeah.
have a few weeks turnaround to be able to get those processed. So I know everyone's scurrying to understand more.
No doubt, okay. So that's something needs to be discussed. We contract.
Yeah, I want to make sure that
This
that's
comes up.
because there's something in here about state tax programs, but I think it listed them.
it had like tree growth,
Right.
veteran exemptions
Mhm.
and everything.
Didn't
It had
list this
everything,
one
but
yet.
It didn't have that listed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that that's covered.
Okay.
But yeah, other than that, if there's things you can think of, I can talk with them, with Rob next time. Either he's here or probably on the phone. Kind of doesn't come out all that often. Ed's usually is
Mhm.
one of his workers usually comes out weekly.
Okay.
And would you want to entertain a longer than a 1 year or do another 1 year?
I mean, I'd
Well, if
like
we
to see
stage
if
it-
we're gonna commit to a reval or something in stages,
Make it like
maybe
a
we do a
3-year.
3 year.
Yeah.
We do 3 years with our auditor and whatnot usually, and most of ours are 3.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah, we can do three. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of got us out of a bind too, so that kind of helped us.
So a few additions and get a date set, so it's in the contract and.
Who has to do that, Andy?
Yeah, we'll just have the contract's up anyway, so we'll have a revised contract to present to them and
Okay.
then they'll. See if it works out. Oh. All right, good.
Now we
Okay.
can do you.
But you get a little ahead of ourselves there. All right. Who wants it this time?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Andrea, second. Any discussion?
I
All
think
those-
we are.
All those in favor? No. Good about that last item on there. I got moving a little.
Now you
fast
guys
there.
got going too fast.
Like, oh, yeah. Contract. But,
Evan was sleeping. I know you
so,
want
make sure we sign. I think there's minutes that we need to sign, right? Did I see the
Yep.
minutes, Andy?
to. And when do they make the run of the mill rate?